right? So what do people do that are not 21?
Nothing.
Sit down here.
People do it 40, they sit on the bench.
And,
take all kinds of drugs.
I think if they just give us a chance to have shows, they'd see that there's no problem with it. I know of a couple organizations, Punks for Better Today, that's one I'm in.
Well, I know the place called Monastery on Stewart Street, they closed because of drugs and problems with drugs. Scoochie's, I have no idea.
Guerrilla Gardens or
Guerrilla Garden Rock Theater.
Metropolis.
Now, I don't know why Guerrilla Gardens closed. I went there a couple times. Watch out for the post.
Yeah, because there's too many assholes running around ruining things like clubs and places where you're supposed to play. And they're not providing any kind of alternatives.
What do you guys do? I mean, if you have nowhere
Like,
to go, where do you go?
Pardon me?
this is it.
What do you do if you have nowhere to go? I mean,
No, this is it.
This is it. We hang out.
See, that's my personal square of cement there.
Do you have any words of wisdom for the Seattle landlords?
Yeah, I wish they'd all fuck off.
Damn right.
I mean, I don't know who in the hell they think they are. Because they've got money, they think that they can push people on the street around. And a lot of times they do because the people just let themselves be pushed around. And people don't really seem to, give a shit or stand up for their rights.
Seattle should offer for the youth to do, if there's no shows to go to.
It doesn't seem like there's enough people who want to make a hall or something, for sure. No one big enough has made a good one, and they keep it closed down.
What?
It's up! It's away! It's away! Everybody!
It's like, well, I don't know, like Virginia Beach, they had a thing, they had a problem with skaters. Well, they called it a problem, the city called it a problem, but the skaters didn't. Skating and stuff, and they didn't have a place, to skate or anything. They kept putting up ramps and stuff like that, and I guess codes and like that said they had to keep tearing them down, building codes, building permits or something like that. So finally, Virginia Beach put up a ramp on like this old dump and on this old trash dump, and they built them a half pipe and stuff for it, and solved the problem. I mean, they listen. The skaters said, give us someplace, and they listened, but
teenagers, they don't.
Yeah,
well, there's about 10 zillion abandoned buildings in Seattle. Why not just knock a hole in the side of one of them and give us a place to do shows? There ain't no other place in town we've had yet that's been up to code anyway.
There's like 100 warehouses down there. It's like cement. How are you going to burn down a cement building? I mean,
Well, I think the problem is they think they're giving you somewhere to go and you're going to do drugs.
What happened at the DOA and Circle Jerk shows?
Oh, some fun now.
What caused those riots?
Fire marshal.
Fire marshal, yeah. Police pushing too hard.
They take it into their mind that there's too many people because they don't like the way most of them look. So they come in and say, they'll wait till the first bands have played and everybody's got lots of energy, and then they wait for the last band to do one song and come in and say the show is shut down and no refunds. And the cops naturally come in with shoving people with clubs, and then the fun really breaks out.
Yeah, what about the Mad Bombers?
Oh, they're all right. They're just a little bit angry about things, and they express it more violently than the rest.
I think that's, the Reagan Youth thing, I think, was,
like to blow things up.
I think, it was, out of hand. The band didn't show up, yeah. But the cops didn't really show up either until, kids started going outside. What are you doing? Started, going outside and raising hell and everything like that, and they start,
one of their weird
causing problems. So the Mad Bomber thing was like our own. We brought the cops down on ourselves with that. That was our own fault. Because the cops were being really cool, and they came in and everything. It was like, no problem, just, checking things out. And then somebody decided to get all hot under the collar about it, and shit starts to fly,
Just
So that
so much aggravation.
Reagan Youth was our fault. That was.
And do you have any
tomorrow night's the
suggestions
first
for
show
the
in
city
the
of
city
Seattle?
that I've been able to get into in like 6
Listen,
months.
just give a listen, you know.
Give it a chance.
Yeah, give us a chance and maybe consider, because like you said, there's
There's no way I could
every
go to
day,
the
like I
shows.
walk around here,
Retro was
you
cool,
know,
but they
and
just
I
didn't have the
see
back
buildings
to
just
make
standing
complaints like
empty
that
and
shit
vacant and
down
stuff. And there's like, you know, you go by and they're empty one time, you know, you go by like months later and they're still not being put to any kind of use. You know, give us a chance, listen to us, you know, maybe we're not so dumb as we appear, you know.
Do you think Seattle is helping itself by closing down shows and not really offering an alternative for the Seattle young adults or youth?
I think Seattle, I think, is helping itself to a lot of trouble eventually, because, you know, a lot of them aren't calm and sophisticated like he and I.
Calm and sophisticated.
Yeah, see.
Call me that again in your history. I'm moved.
You should be. You should go to the bathroom for that then. No. No, because a lot of people aren't going to take this much longer. It's getting to a point where, you know.
But do you think the hardcore scene is that violent? I mean, do you think the
Energy builds up with everybody
Energy,
builds
yeah.
up energy
Yeah.
after a while without shows or something
Levels.
to do. You just start getting drunk and getting obnoxious, and eventually you get drunk and start teeing off.
And any local thing.
But do the hardcore people, the youth, hardcore, do they go around looking for people to beat on, or are they just trying to do their own thing?
Not so
and
much
Most
here.
of them don't.
Live and let live. Or?
Seattle's got about the mellowest scene I've ever been to.
Yeah,
All
here
over
it's
Europe, West Coast, and everything.
like L.A. When I was in L.A., the
Mellowest
scene
scene
down
I've
there
ever
is
seen.
like, you know, people there, they, you know, hey, look, you know, there's somebody different. Somebody to trash, you know, that's their thing. That's their way of life down there. I mean, you know, the gangs and shit down here. Up here, the gangs ain't shit.
I'll skip for you, Dave. Was that good?
What do you ladies think about the Seattle youth scene, music scene?
I gave my opinion last week. It sucks, man. They need to put a pit in them. We need a pit.
Need underage shows.
Yeah, and underage shows. Or lots of fake ID.
Yeah, really. Or like bouncers that don't bitch.
Yeah, or friends at the door to let us in free.
Yeah.
What do you do since there's no shows or anything to?
We skip.
We skip. That makes good sense.
Give me a place where I band to play so I can get off the streets and won't have to look at me anymore.
No place I can get out of my face, and I don't have to.
I don't like anybody. I think you should all know that. You're all garbage and you're scum and I'm bitter to you.
Do you think that Seattle is helping young musicians at all?
No, I don't see any support.
Isn't Seattle supposedly
Because you
a
have to-
creative city?
Well, but with all the insurance and stuff that
Supposedly,
you have to
keyword.
have in Seattle, no young bands can even start up. Because no one can get that much security.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just stifling the whole trip. There's not going to be any good hardcore, anything at all coming out of Seattle. It's
So,
going to be lame.
so what do you do when you're not skipping?
Sit around and be
Listen to
bummed,
the
man.
league.
The league.
I'd schedule more shows because that's the basic problem. The only place that people have to meet is down here on the benches. And that's pretty lame. I mean, I don't like walking down to some fucking benches and standing in the midst of people that are about 15. And I don't know, it just seems lame.
Yeah, we go to Club Broadway, Spectrum, City Beach, stuff like that, you know. We just go out and dance.
I think there should be more youth programs to get them, to find them a job. I know there's a couple. The Orion Center is one of them.
To see a dorm for a lot of these kids and have handicraft and put them to work and look out for what they can get out of their money, and also take and have restrictions on how they can spend their money. And then they wouldn't have to beg on the streets and stuff to...
Do you think Seattle's making it easy for kids to live here? I mean, not kids, but young adults who...
yeah, there's...
I mean, have you ever tried to live on minimum wage?
Yeah. I'm on fixed income, and I get just Social Security, and I can just about meet up with my expense if I am awful careful with the situation.
Well, I tried to go to the YMCA when I was having trouble, and they wouldn't accept me.
Why?
I really don't know why. You know, I mean, I talked to them, and they said they wouldn't accept me. I mean, they wouldn't give me a free house when I needed one, you know, a free place to live. You know, I only needed it for a week until I got paid.
So what did you end up doing?
So I ended up sleeping at a friend's house.
The city of Minneapolis tolerates the punk scene better or worse than the city of Seattle?
Well, for a while, the cops were really coming down on a lot of the punks that hung out uptown. Uptown is kind of like the Broadway.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of the younger punks that hung out there that were getting a lot of shit from the cops. They were being arrested all the time and thrown in jail and getting, you know, I've been beat up by a cop in Minneapolis, but the cops here seem more laid back too.
Great.
Oh, sorry, wrong hand. Well, maybe
Kim has so much to say.
Come on, Kim.
Speak.
You forth, woman.
We all made asses of ourselves. It's your turn.
I never talk. Why should I talk now?
Right behind me is the Broadway Electric Building. It's now empty, and there's around 1,600 square feet of empty, unusable room that could be put to better use. I think the city of Seattle should rent this out and make a youth center for children, because there's a lot of kids that are under 21 that have nowhere to go, have no entertainment, and this would make a wonderful place. They don't have to make it fancy. I think a nice, a cafe, somewhere the children can go and dance, not the children, the young adults, can go and dance, have a good time, but they don't need to hang out on the street. It's just not a good place. They need a good environment, and I think this would be a wonderful place for it.
It's the stage.
Yeah, it's
Stage, well, even if, I mean...
Stage, like some chairs and tables around the edge.
1,600 square feet.
Give me the place where I band to play so I can get off the street so they don't have to look at me anymore.
You know a place I can get out. You get out of my face and I don't have to look at.
Then play and stop. story when you're young. It's even the story sometimes after you turn 21, because you can exhaust the club situations in any city within a couple of months, and then it's the same old entertainment. And if you don't want to abuse yourself with too much refreshment or something of the other variety, then you got to go out and get some worthwhile hobby or something. And I think that the city fathers and the police should just get their act together and watch what they're doing, because they're ruining a good scene if they're trying to keep people out of clubs and they're just back on the streets, because they're not going to stay home.
Yeah.
And they're just going to have to let them take it over and do it, and let the kids have the clubs, let the bands have a place to play, and give it a fair shake.
You're in music.
Give it a fair shake, and maybe they'll police themselves.
Did you find places to play when you were under 21?
It was hard. You can't. You can only play so many sock hops and so many people's parties, and I can't tell you how many times we got closed down by the San Diego cops playing in neighborhoods. And down there, if they come the second time, they haul your equipment off, and that's it. And they don't haul it off like a roadie. They trash it. And that's your livelihood right there. That's your hobby. That's your.
But yet, if you're under 21 and you're a musician, you know, where do you get gigs? How do you? I mean, how can you?
You solicit a lot of high school places, and there's organizations like sororities and fraternities too, like to hire party bands and stuff like that, because they know you'll play for cheap or nothing, especially if they can buy you something you like to drink or consume.
Right.
They know you'll do it for free, and it's sometimes they have like if you play the political game locally, you can go through local radio stations, and they'll have Battle of the Band contests and stuff, but those never happen nearly enough. And the biggest thing is, I think the band people themselves should speak out too, because they're just as affected as any of the kids who go and sit in the audience, and they have no place to play, and the kids have no place to listen to bands play, and they're just going to have to organize themselves into like a coalition or something. And
Debbie, how did you like working on Voices in the Dark?
I found it very informative. I was pleasantly surprised. I think if I could have stayed longer, I would have made good friends.
How did you feel about the people that you met?
Even though I think that they were, they don't represent my lifestyle, and I don't represent theirs. There was still some common bond there, and even though I'm probably at least 16 years older than most of them, they voiced many opinions and problems that I've often had just when I was a youth also. Mm-hmm. And basically the same problems, what to do when you just don't fit into the average realm of acceptable society.
Do you think that they offered any plausible solutions for the city of Seattle to consider?
I think they're confused, and their frustration is definitely from their viewpoint, and mostly what they get is the abuse from the powers that be. So they're not organized enough to really come up with I don't think a truly coherent answer or a solution or a possible answer to the problem. But I think if they got together, they'd probably present a stronger force than even they're aware of, even though they know that there's many of them out there that are just as frustrated. They're just in fractioned little groups.
Do you think that the punks are just a small group that should be ignored or squashed out?
No, I don't understand absolutely everything that they think, do, or say, but I think that they've certainly got a right to exist just like anybody in a three-piece suit from Bellevue or any place else. And I think if they're as organized and present as much of a social, what should I say? Movement, and if they can be somewhat restricted in their outward aggressions, just as much as, say, the average, dare I say, lounge lizard would, I think they could have their own shows.
Did you feel that the punks that we interviewed were outwardly aggressive? Did you feel threatened?
No, not at all. Not at all. I found many of them to be articulate and caring people, and not aggressive.